Hello everybody, my name is Kelly Salter from names.co.uk and Register 365, and I have with me my colleague Ian Beaumont.
Afternoon everyone.
So if I can just start by saying thank you for taking time out of your busy day to attend our webinar on the domain name explosion that's almost upon us. Now before I go any further, can I just do a quick sound check and screen check? So would you mind typing a yes if you can both see the screen and hear me clearly? Just have a look. Yep, brilliant. Thank you very much. So, to start with, who are we and why have we been asked to talk to you today? Well, I actually deal with all of the domain name extensions that we offer at the top level. So I'm the person that deals day to day with the organizations that either want to run, that either already run, or want to launch a new domain name extension.
I work with our managed clients and brands on a day-to-day level, so I give advice and consultation on what domain names they should get to protect themselves or move into new markets, and how to get them back from third parties that have got there first.
So the reason we've held this webinar today is that as of the 5th of February 2014, you will have a lot more choice in what domain name extension is right for you.
And choice is good.
As long as you make the right one, yes it is. So the topics we're going to cover today are what's changing in the domain name world, why do we actually need more domain names, how it's going to affect you and obviously your business, and which ones are right for you. Now, rather than have a Q&A section at the end, we welcome any questions throughout the webinar. Any questions that we don't actually get to throughout the webinar, don't worry, we will respond to you personally after we've finished in the next few days. So before we explain how you can spend your money wisely, getting the right domain name for your business, and not waste money getting the wrong extension, I just want to quickly explain what is happening. So we actually already had a fair bit of choice. We had the global extensions you're probably all familiar with, .com, .net, .org, .biz, .info. Some that you may not have actually even realized already existed.
And then we've got the international country code extensions as well.
Okay, but I'm not putting signs up for all of those because there are over 300, and I think the audience, and definitely I, would like some lunch. So what's changing? ICANN, which stands for Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers.
Quite a mouthful.
Yep, that's why I'm just going to say ICANN. Well, they are basically the organization that coordinates the Internet. They keep it secure and keep it stable. Well, they decided that we should have more choice and competition on the Internet. So they allowed organizations to apply for and run their own domain name extensions back in 2012. They received nearly 2,000 applications, some of which were from different applicants for the same extension. And naturally, we can't have two generic terms on the Internet like .shop or two geographic terms like .london pointing in different directions, or we get lost.
So we had various different types of categories of domain extensions launching. So we had some new geographical options. So, for example, .london, Wales, and Paris. Some kind of sector-specific or industry-specific, like legal, financial, healthcare, generic and commerce, shop, blog, and web. Interestingly, some critique-style extensions such as .sucks, .reviews, and kind of last but not least, whilst you won't be able to register them yourselves, brands applying for their own extensions. So the examples we've given here are BMW, Google, and Microsoft. So why do we need more domains? Well, ICANN's reasoning for the new program and releasing much more in the way of domain extensions was they believed that the Internet needed more choice, more competition, and the chance for businesses to get a shorter, more memorable domain name than what exists today.
I mean, this is something we see already today. It was getting quite hard to get a really short, snappy, cool, memorable domain in the established extensions. We were seeing people add words onto the end of a company name, maybe the town that they work in or where their customers are. And I know from speaking to the guys, taking the phone calls from our customers, that some people were really stuck and had even got the thesaurus out, trying to find something that were kind of happy with. You know, something that wasn't like 5 words long and would only just fit on the side of a van. I mean, it does mean, yes, that over the next few years, there will be hundreds of new domain name extensions to choose from. And how do you choose the right one with so many to choose from? Now, I cannot stress how much of a change this is going to be to the domain name world. Historically, we had maybe one new extension launch at any one time, and there was months, years of planning and communication before the new extension launched so you could register it. We are lucky at the moment if we get 30 days notice from these new extensions that they plan to open the first phase. And with so much choice at one time, it is going to make your decision-making process really hard. Many of the dates that you hear in the news are tentative and subject to change. All of these new extensions are trying to find a way to get noticed, get your attention, and sell domain names. Now, whether we agree with it or not, it's happening. And our role is to try and get as much accurate, confirmed information to you so you can make an informed decision of what's right for you. So now to the main reason for today. How to choose the right extension for you. How do you decide what to spend your money on to get a domain name that works for you?
And one that can get you more customers as well. I think the key thing to come back to when asking this question, and this applies for new domains as much as it does for existing domains, is to focus on relevance. So what you do, where you are, where your customers are, who they are as well. So we're going to go through a few different examples, and hopefully there'll be some crossover with some of you watching and listening. So the first example we're going to look at is a small business, so in this case a photographer, that already has an online presence. In this scenario, this customer is online, probably running their site with a localized domain like a .co.uk or a .ie, and or the kind of a popular generic extension such as a .com. Now, as we'll kind of find throughout this program with different sections, there are lots of different options for a photographer when looking at the new domain extensions that are launching. So we've got, in this example, photography, London, camera, gallery, graphics, and shop. So if we kind of look through them, .camera might be relevant if you sell cameras, but if you're actually a photographer, maybe not so much. .gallery is probably more intended for art galleries and would probably be for professional photographers, if anything. Graphics is a kind of a tentative link, and .shop, whilst we expect it to be extremely popular, we're probably not going to see it for a little while yet. So I think the thing we have to look at here is that photography really would be the standout choice when it comes to the extension that's kind of on offer. The rest would only really be applicable if geographically it was where your customers were based, or where you showcased your work or sold your pieces online, for example. You need to think about what your customers would be looking for to find what it is that you do. And we've kind of added a few different ones here, a few different geographical options for, you know, .irish is likely to come for the Irish market, and .uk is going to add a bit more complication for the UK market as well from the 10th of June. So for .co.uk owners, that should also be on kind of your radar as well. But we'll cover that in kind of further detail as we go on in the future.
Ian, if you don't mind, I'd actually like to bring in a question from the chat, if that's okay.
Are we ready? Yep.
So Claire has asked, would a new extension help her get higher in Google than her existing one? Which I quite like. Yeah,
I like that. It's a question that's been asked quite a lot, actually. I guess the interesting thing here is that Google has a bit of a vested interest because they've applied for so many domain extensions themselves. Now, we kind of all know that Google, they keep their secrets pretty close to their chest, but one of the key parts, and this kind of takes us back a few slides really, is relevance. So I would say it's pretty relevant. If I was looking for a photographer or something to do with photography, and I find a website ending in photography, or sorry, .photography, and it has content related to that subject matter, that's what I'm going to find when I go there.
I mean, one of the other things possibly to bear in mind is it obviously over time is when you see the first page, I don't know about you, but if I'm looking for a photographer and I see a web address ending in photography, maybe it would actually increase my chances of clicking on it. I mean, believe me, guys, we will all be watching to see what Google does. And Google will keep changing their rules, their algorithm, the famous algorithm, and we'll always be catching up. So thanks for that. Sorry.
That's all right. No worries. Thanks for the question. I think just to kind of elaborate on that a bit is to say that in this kind of scenario, I would probably register .photography because of its relevance. But that's not necessarily to say that I would use my website on that extension straight away if I've already got the existing .co.uk, com, IE, etc. But I would make sure, like all domains should really, make sure that it works. You can set up forwarding through your control panel, and it's free of charge and kind of pretty simple to do. I think for me, the last thing I'd want is for another photographer, given that these are going to be global extensions, to get the domain that I really wanted. So I think that would be, something that I would, I would definitely want to pick it up for myself. And it's also the chance that the name that you wanted initially when you were looking at a particular extension might not be available. So that provides another kind of option or alternative.
I mean, another factor you might want to consider before you even think about changing your web address is your search engine ranking. I mean, it's not entirely clear from studies that domain age matters, but if your business has been online for a long time, has a good ranking in the search engines, and you depend on like retail traffic coming in through your virtual door, please tread very cautiously before switching your entire website to a new domain name, even one with a catchy suffix. So the forwarding option, which is where it's easy to do, most providers it should be free. So if I type in the .photography, it lands on my existing website. So definitely I'd suggest that. So let's move on to a different scenario, Ian. What if I'm not online yet and I want to start a new business?
Okay, so in this scenario, we've looked at a hairdresser. There's no current online presence. This person is either kind of a bricks and mortar store or they're mobile or something like that. So the recommendation that we would still use, despite these new domain extensions coming, is to look at what's in the existing marketplace. So again, looking at the local domain, so a .co.uk or a .ie, depending on your market, excuse me, and the most popular generic extensions such as a .com. People like familiar domain extensions. They already have an element of trust, even if it's almost by proxy in the back of their mind. And the last thing a new business wants to be doing is putting their whole business on hold, in the vain hope that one of these new extensions launches on time with restrictions, requirements, and that they can meet to actually get one. But obviously there are going to be quite a few new domain extensions that are going to be relevant to this person at first glance. So you would consider new domain extensions if your primary, your existing domain extensions are not available, or basically the relevance of these new domain extensions are just too strong and too relevant to ignore.
I mean, the interesting thing about the hairdresser scenario is it allowed us to highlight how complex this can be. So, I mean, if we have a closer look at the new extensions that seem at first glance highly relevant, I mean, .beauty, let's take .beauty. That 4 applicants applied to run .beauty. One of the applicants was L'Oreal, famous brand, we've all heard of them. Now, if L'Oreal wins and they get .beauty, an auction will decide that, by the way, L'Oreal don't want it to be open for registration from small and micro businesses. they stated they wanted it entirely for themselves. I mean, L'Oreal also is one of the applicants for .salon and .hair, and even .mobile. You know, if you're a mobile hairdresser, two of the applicants were again brands who wouldn't open it up. So, I mean, brands such as L'Oreal, you know, having exclusive use of a generic term has caused huge debate behind the scenes. Now, whether they will relent to public pressure and open it up is still remains to be seen. So this is why, you know, yes, there are potential extensions coming, possibly sometime in the future. If you're starting business now, don't necessarily put your plans on hold just in case.
I think that the key thing here is that whether domain names will actually be open for registration and when they launch, what rules they will have, it's ever changing. So we know how kind of complex this is. So rather than hit all of our customers with all of the information up front, we'll only be showing on our websites either those that are available now or those that will be available soon and we know the concrete information about. So if we were letting customers know that they've got a good opportunity of you know, say pre-registering a .salon domain, isn't necessarily going to help them plan that business. So when the new extensions confirm rules, launch dates, pricing, we'll be able to kind of arm our customers with the information that enables them to kind of make some real decisions.
And what price they'll be is going to be a huge factor that absolutely a business needs to know to make an informed decision. I mean, I'm currently working with the .luxury extension, which will be coming in the next few months. And believe me, the cost is going to be very luxurious. It's pricing small micro businesses out of that particular extension.
Yep. So we're not going to go into too much detail on this, but this we just wanted to show that whatever sector you're in, the likelihood is you're going to have some options here that in some way relate to what you do. So looking at the legal fraternity, for example, or looking at the financial industry, or looking at the healthcare industry, this theme runs throughout the whole program.
I mean, it is kind of like little sectors of communities, isn't it?
Definitely, definitely. So in the next example, it gets a bit more complicated. So we're looking here at an existing SME that is already trading in multiple locations throughout the world and probably have already quite a few domains in their portfolio. This time, this program is going to be particularly challenging. But in this example, our SME is about to start trading in Belgium. Now, the first extension of choice has got to be .be for Belgium. So if your customers are in that country, the extension they are most familiar with and will relate to is the established country code. But these customers are going to have to look at what's coming and start making decisions about what's relevant. So if they have existing trademarks, they may be able to secure highly relevant domains before they are released on general availability.
I mean, these are the guys that probably just want to get in touch with you, Ian, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these are the guys that I'm spending most of the time speaking to at the moment. I think for the SME that's already trading across borders and has multiple country codes or brand names, there's going to be a potential long list of kind of what's relevant here. I think I would strongly suggest to look at the overall domain strategy, and if trademarks are owned, using them to provide them with those additional rights. Give you more options, basically. Also, for those that are actively exporting or actually want to, we'll be showing webinars in partnership with UK Trade and Investment. So when it comes to trading overseas, domain names are just a small part of doing this.
Ian, I'm going to take another question from the chat because I like this one. So this is from John.
Okay.
So are you saying we need to register every domain possible?
No.
Perfect.
In a word.
I mean, this is a point that we've been giving advice on for some time now, and it's even more relevant now. Now, the amount of phone calls or emails we've had from customers over the last few years that have had that email from China that someone wants to register some domains.
Yeah.
Our advice then and our advice even more so now. If you're not doing business in China, forget the .cn.
Yeah.
If you don't do business in Germany, forget .de, ignore .berlin.
Yeah.
I mean, even the brands that previously wanted to try and register all the extensions in the world will have to rethink their strategy. Stop diversifying their brand names and focus on what's relevant.
Yep, I'd agree with that.
And another question from the chat, this time from Ben.
Alrighty.
Sorry, I clocked this when I saw the other one.
All right.
So are city names better than country codes?
I'd probably say not, especially in the next few years. If you think about what customers are used to, if I'm looking for a business in Ireland, I'm probably going to trust the .ie domain name, domain extension that I'm familiar with over, let's say, .irish, for example. I guess the same in Germany with the example you've just given. So the reason being is that it's already so prominent that .de is one of the largest established country codes in the world. .berlin is only going to cover a certain part of that. People aren't going to be familiar with it for quite some time. So I'm not saying don't get .berlin. If we use this SME example here, it might well be that they've got an office there and it's relevant to them. But what I'm saying is that if I had to make a choice and both are available, I'd definitely choose .de over .berlin.
Perfect, yeah, great.
Yeah.
We've had loads of questions in the chat asking when they can buy domains, but I know it's something you're going to cover next, so over to you, Ian.
Cool. Okay. So when can you buy? There are ultimately kind of multiple phases. So every domain extension that launches has to open first with a sunrise. This is the opportunity for existing trademark holders that meet registration restrictions to apply at a premium price before domains are released on general sale. And I've obviously got the questions coming in about kind of general sale. So next there might be other phases. So for example, some extensions which are quite topical because we're kind of in it at the moment. So clothing, bike, plumbing, guru, got what's called like an early access phase. In previous launches we've had what's called a land rush, but in this particular instance, the first 7 days of general availability where people can apply at a higher price. On day one it costs nearly 500 times what it would cost in normal general availability. Other extensions might have like an unregistered rights phase, so it might be that instead of a trademark they specify some kind of affiliation with a society or membership of community or proof that you reside in a particular geographical area. Others might just have escalated pricing. But then we go into general availability. So this is where we have the normal first come, first served, as long as you meet the restrictions and requirements. So this is the time when domains are kind of properly available on our website. If we go to the questions that are coming in from the chat in terms of when domains are launching, well, we're keeping our website up to date only when we have accurate confirmed timelines for a launch, much as we said earlier. So you'll find a dedicated section on our website in the Domains tab called New Domain Extensions, plus we're updating the blog and Facebook and Twitter, etc.
We'll also be sending out regular newsletters. So, I mean, if you are an existing customer and you've perhaps opted out of the marketing newsletters, I would actually consider maybe logging back into your control panel and just tick to opt back in. You can opt back out later down the line, but it's just a way for us to keep you informed. I mean, if there's a domain name that you really want and you're prepared to pay a premium price for it, I mean, you talked about the early phases.
Yeah.
What I would say is people should just get in touch with you, Ian, because you can help them work out, if it's possible, and a guide of roughly how much they'd have to pay and their chances of getting it.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you touched on the fact that trademark owners had their own first phase, the mandatory phase.
Yeah.
So, Ian, could you just cover that a little bit more? Because I know this, in particular, this is something you're working on every day.
Yeah, that's fine. So we're talking here about specifically the sunrise period and the trademark clearinghouse and why that's important. But we'll cover this off quickly because this is more for the quite established businesses amongst you. So if you submit a trademark to the trademark clearinghouse via an intermediary like ourselves, what you're effectively getting early access, so right of priority. So you can apply for domains ahead of general availability. In addition to this, you'll be notified if anyone registers a domain name matching your trademark, both in the sunrise period but also the early stages of general availability. I don't really want to go into a huge amount of detail here, but submitting a trademark does give you additional options in this program, such as blocking services for any kind of key or prominent brands or business names.
So blocking is where you prevent people registering it in normal sales.
With no functioning, they won't function.
Yeah, perfect. So a lot of information to take in, so we just wanted to quickly recap for you the main points for businesses to consider.
So if we look at, me first. So if we look at a small business that is already online, so I would consider supplementing the existing domains that you have with the most relevant new extensions that are out there. Don't get them all. Ensure that any of your new domains work. So make sure that they forward, or if you want to use a website on them, great. But if you just register a domain, just don't leave it hanging there. Make sure it forwards.
Yeah, we like you on advertising our part page, but believe me, it works better for you than it does. Sorry, so if I'm not online, Ian?
First consideration should be what's already there, in our opinion.
Absolutely.
So traditional extensions, again, looking at the most kind of prominent local extension and the most prominent generic extension. Consider those new ones if the first choices aren't available or if the relevance is just too strong for you to ignore.
And last but not least, the ones we feel really sorry for.
These guys really need a bigger box. But yeah, the existing SMEs or the existing brands, think about the overall international domain strategy for now, but also map it out into the future and map those international domains to markets of presence and interest. Consider using the Trademark Clearinghouse, protecting your trademarks in these new extensions. There are ways and means to help you guys out. So thanks to everyone for watching. We hope this has been helpful. Like I say, we'll be getting to any questions that have been asked or haven't been able to answer, and we'll get to them personally after the fact. You can find out more about new domain extensions on our websites, which we're updating regularly. And if you have any kind of further questions after this webinar, then on Facebook, contact us via the site, and we'll be glad to hear from you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.